Hi all! So today we are going to look into how to bring make materials in Unity, which is pretty simple, and yeah, we'll start following out what is stated in our module. So basically, we still have our scene here, and what we're going to go in is like making this folder, which already did materials. We are going to right-click, create a new folder, which is going to be called textures. So we'll also bring textures to the to the scene as well. So and that's basically what we can bring in order to replicate materials. The main thing that you need to do is once you Google textures, making them seamless, and I'm going to show you what does that actually mean. So seamless textures are textures that you don't see any kind of ending. So they are they are aligned in the patterns. Also, the lighting is not focused in the center and kind of diffused or darkened towards the side. So these are kind of patterns that are critical, and this you need to Google seamless patterns, and that's what again what pops up, and these are actually patterns that this end would fit on this one, and this area would also hopefully would also fit into that. So it needs to wrap basically around those things. The way to bring them in is basically it's pretty simple. It's just a drag and drop, and that's what we are going to. So I have them here in my desktop. So I open the textures folder, drag and drop, make them all coming in, and they will be there, as well as what we can bring in afterwards. So for materials, we go again to assets. In materials, we go to our folder, right click, create, and there's material immediately here. So click on the material, it gives you a standard sphere, and this is going to be the first one. Let's name it color. We're just going to how to insert or make different colors into this material. So once you click it here, you have the inspector. If you don't have the inspector here, you go to Window and go to General and click on Inspector, or in Apple 3 or Command 3. Basically, once you select the material, you go. There's different types of modes, and but for now we stay on opaque. Opaque meaning it's going to be a material that you are going to actually see in front of the of your render. So click on the button here. The button will allow you to open a window, which is all the materials that are part of all the assets. The reason why you appear with these assets is because you have more standard asset scenes here. So, and that's why you're going to pop up that that tab. But you can go and open it. And this is to bring textures in. In this case, what we need to close is just go to the color and choose a color of your liking, and you'll see immediately here in the preview what the color is. Another element that you can add on is if you add more shiny materials. So this is where increase reflection. You'll start seeing immediately here, especially which will get more and more kind of reflective with the element. And there's the smoothness as well. So if you want even more kind of smooth, kind of a metallic paint in a car, all those kind of elements, it increases this kind of elements. So once you apply the material, to apply the material is just a drag and drop. And I'm going to apply it here. And I'm going to just go into my scene and look at what kind of an reflection is this kind of metallic smooth material that is going to be implanted into my scene. Here we go. And as you can see, it's a very smooth, shiny kind of metallic, and you can always give you more or less kind of more or less refraction or metallic smoothness. So this is how you just change color, and now you can always go and choose any color from anything, and or use the color wheel or whatever it might be, and immediately keeps on doing. You can right click in this material. You can can add materials as well from part of other libraries as well. So this is the first one. So this is kind of a shiny material. I'm going to make a new one, create new material again. Sorry, create material, and this one is going to be the same. I'm not going to change any value on the metallic or the smoothness, but I'm going to try to have the same, more or less the same color. You click on the box, and color picks will go here, and something like similar to, as you can see, the reflection is very different, but the color is more or less the same, and the effect actually one versus the other, you can see dramatically different. Okay, so this is matte. Let's put it matte color, and yeah. So, and this is shiny, obviously. So this is how you bring into materials, how to create materials with color. Now, if you want to add, another thing is to add transparency to the materials. So in this case, I'm going to actually use this one, or create a new one from scratch, to create glass. So transparency might be a little bit tricky, but what you can do is, let's put glass. That's the name of the material. And again, the same element comes in. You can choose a color. I'm going to choose kind of blue for representation of glass purposes, and going to make it, yeah, like this element. And what you can do now here is adjust the alpha. So there's RGB values, red, green, and blue values. What you go is you decrease the transparency. Once you decrease it, you immediately start seeing that the transparency of the sphere is going to be applied into the material. So, and actually I decreased that, but before that you need to click on transparent, right? So that element, that transparent, as you can see here, the white is the alpha element, and the black, that's what it's created. So this is dynamic kind of element, right? So you can see here as well how it dynamically transposes. So I want to have some sort of presence of the blue, but I also want to have some refraction. So I'm happy with the alpha here. Let's try it. But I'm going to actually increase here a bit and make it a bit smoother. So so now the glass is going to be far more reflective, and I'm going to apply it to this shell here. Here we go. So now you can see, if I select this shell F, this is the kind of element that you can start having and displaced, and this how you can actually represent glass. So you can start, if you think, obviously I have a very thick shell here, that's why the shadow is being very has a lot of presence. Still, you already start seeing a difference between this shadow and that shadow. If you want to have it more transparency, it's just a case of going into the transparency mode, and yeah, and depending on what kind of model you might have. So let's make it more transparent, and you start seeing the shadow starts to be more and more clearer. And again, you still have the reflection of the glass as you want. So the glass already still looks pretty good. You already see some differences between this shadow and that. However, to make it even more smoother and giving that kind of reflection that's related with the lighting and the environment itself, you need to add one final step, and this is the critical part. You go to Game Object, Lights, and click on Reflection Probe. Reflection Probe will get you this object that will basically, it's once you select it here, this reflection probe basically allows you to bring in all the reflections that are transmitted through that environment, right? So at the moment you don't see anything, but you bring that reflection probe just in front of your glass, and instead of baked, you click real time, right? So basically it allows you to reflect all the elements that are around this glass. And the same thing, if you want it to be reflected towards that, it's fine. But at this moment, it's just a glass, and we put it in front of it. And once you play it, now it really reflects what is going to be around. So, and if it's kind of a mirror effect or the kind of environment that you need to reflect into. So let's go there. There you go. So now it's obviously my geometry is not the ideal one for glass, but obviously you start seeing these kind of reflections that I mean, while my environment is not, there's nothing here. You can start seeing, looking at around kind of light effects. Okay. The last material was going to be importing some texture, so starting emulating some kind of wraparound material type of an element. So it's the same thing. I'm going to put texture. And what it does is just exactly the same thing. In this case, I'm going to emulate opaque material, so not a problem. If you want to go on cutouts, it's just if you want to use cutouts from Photoshop, it's the same thing. That's how it's brought in. Or you brought in a PNG and it immediately applies. But so we are going to go with the opaque, and we are going to click on this sphere, and what is going to ask where is my textures. So I'm going to go into my texture scene. I have concrete, undulated, and timber. I'm going to start with the concrete and apply it to that shell there. So that's so let's go and do that. And so what I'm going to go, yep. So it should be, if you go through alphabetic order, the concrete should be popping up. And here we go. Here it is. If you double click, it immediately applies. You start seeing kind of whatever smoothness you want. You can make it rougher. So it depends on how you want it to get that kind of effect. And I'm going to select this one, and I'm going to basically going to the material folder, and the texture is here. I'm going to rename it concrete, and basically drag and drop it. For whatever reason, it's really not working well. Yep. So be careful with how it wraps around. Okay, it's there. Maybe it needs a bit more kind of punch into the refraction. I downloaded this one. It's just a JPEG. But you can start seeing these the concrete elements applied into it. Obviously, it's a low quality JPEG, so it doesn't give you the rest. But if you play the scene, it should give you that effect that's applicable. So I always recommend to go down to the asset store, download the materials. There's already a huge amount. There's a lot of things that doesn't need to be redone unless you are actually going to do. So now I'm going to revisit everything, all the materials. So here we go. My glass structure is smooth, the one that's the shiny metallic one, and the concrete structure here, which you can see that it's kind of being well applied on the structure itself. All right. Also, what is known as material is, I mean, everything that's in this scene is a material, include the skybox. And if you want to change the skybox, for example, and that's one thing that's really important, you go to your first-person shooter controller, and once you select, you unpack it. So you click on the drop down, select the first person character, and immediately the camera pops up. The camera's view pops up in here, and you go to the inspector, and you have here, this is where you see the skybox. This is how you can actually change what kind of skybox you want. If you want to choose another skybox, so go to window, we need to open a lighting. So basically what you're offering, your light is coming from the scene set by this sun, and this is where the skybox is kind of reproduced, right? So you see that the sun and that scene is creating these shadows, right? So what you want to actually go in is go to the light settings in rendering, and that pops up this tab probably floating around, and this is where actually the skybox is. If you want to get another skybox, you can, this is where the skybox that I've chosen, but if you want to select another one, you click here, and obviously you go to skybox. This is a default one, as you can see immediately updates, and there's another Skybox Pro, so it's a bit darker. And if you download a few more, you can download those as elements for to place them in. Again, there's modes of doing skyboxes, but that's a bit of more complicated, so we leave it up for later. So okay, so this is just a short tutorial how to insert materials as well. Okay, thank you.